Welcome to PCGamer Radio. I'm your host, Lipstickpaddy, and I'm going to talk Star Citizens today and all the problems I've got about crafting coming into the game. And it's not because I don't like crafting. I love crafting. I'm a craftaholic in all MMOs that I play. And I'm telling you now, I've got massive concerns. Now, in the background here is Fallen Earth, one of my favourite MMOs ever, a post-apocalyptic open world game, where everything that I'm wearing is crafted by moi. In fact, the horse I'm on is crafted by me, and you can even craft vehicles in the game, which I have done. And I'm going to go to a station, a crafting place, very soon. I'm on my horse to go there, but My biggest concern about the crafting is, and this is a killer for me, it's the fact that its crafting station is going to be in your hangar. Now, this gives me almost PTSD of Warlords of Draenor, World of Warcraft, where you had a base and you... you had a base and everybody started crafting in their base because they had the crafting stations to craft in that expansion in your base, and they ended up making the game absolutely dead because everyone's in their instance and the actual game felt horrible. They need to put this in the planetary locations and give you reasons to go down on a planet and reasons to actually go to a place to craft. I'm going to explain how that works today, because this game does it fantastically and it makes sense the way this game has done it. Now, I do think that Star Citizen's crafting can be exactly like this and everyone's going to love it. But before I get to the crafting place, because... it's just over there, is it? It's been a while since we've been back. Yeah, it is this. Just here, I think. Yeah. Coyotes out there. The game has reset, so I've not really got any abilities on my bar. Anyway, so over here, there's like a military camp, and in this camp, they've got crafting locations, and this could be like a planetary location that you come into, and you're going to go and find a crafting station. Now, the other thing for me is items that you have don't have an item level. Now, imagine you're at Star Citizen 1.0, and you've got the crafting station, what I like to call a milkshake machine, where you just put in stuff in it, and it 3D prints it out. For me, that's not satisfying at all. And for me, my concern is, with the game being flat across all weapons, they're all kind of equal, that isn't good enough for me, and I really hate it. Because what happens at Star Citizen 1.0, where you've got your 5 systems, happy days, everyone plays the content. The next thing to do when the content's finished is go and build your base and then do PvP, whatever. Then, what happens when the next system comes out? Because it's just going to have content, is it? That you go and do the content and then you go back to your base on your planet where you are. Because for me, it needs to have progression. You start off in Stanton, you've got your tier 1 guns, you then go to Pyro for your tier 2 guns, you then reason why you're going into Nyx is because they've got tier 4 guns, why are you going into Castra because you've got level 5 guns, you go into Terra because Terra is what I call a end game system, so you're not getting better than tier that you got in, but it improves all the tiers. I'll explain that in a second when I do this. Right, now, let's look at crafting. Now, this game's got tons of different things in it, but I'm just going to try and make it as simple as possible. Now, if I'm looking at cooking, for example, and I want to brew something, you can see that it has level 1 brewing, and it has advanced and improved. So, Brewing is like stuff you imagine. Brewing is Stanton, right? So it's like tier 1. Improved then would be Pyro, T2, and imagine the advanced then would be Nyx. Now the thing is, here in Stanton, there's actually 3 levels within Stanton, so you can get the basic stuff. This is stuff that you might buy from a shop, and you can see here that you need skill 9 to actually make this in your cooking skill. And something better than it would be something that needs to take 18, and then you can clearly see the path that you would be. Let's make this bigger. You can see the path that the more cooking you do, the better recipes that you'll eventually going to make. So these are kind of, like I said, this is kind of stuff that you get from the shop. And for example, these brewing things, these could come from schematics, absolutely. Or you could just get a schematic for brewing 1 and you get all these recipes. But what I like about Fallen Lamb, what they've done is, in order to get brewing 2, for example, you are actually going to make that cookbook here. Imagine it's a schematic for the next brewing of Stanton. So in order to actually unlock brewing 2, you have to make a book for it. And then you get brewing 2, and you can see in brewing 2 you get your cooking then up to 120, and you can then do brewing 3. So now you've got some fantastic recipes for Stanton content now with brewing 3, and you can see that these all need different ingredients. For example, a vegetable, some grain, some alcohol, and some water. So these are the kind of 3 things that you would need. Star Citizen definitely needs to have a, what I would call my inventory, not this local inventory, my inventory that's in my bag. Because if I've got these items in my bag, I should be able to craft something, right? Now, the way this works is, in order to make this vodka, it's going to take 10 minutes. But if I go into a cooking place, this would be the bank here. And over here, I believe, is the cooking station. Yeah, we're in a cooking facility now. Now, the way this works is, let's say I want to make 20 bottles of vodka. All right, that's 4 of these. I'll stack these in a queue, and to make that stack, it's going to take 40 minutes. Or if I come in here, it will shave the time off by 25%. So that's fantastic. So I can log out the game and have a massive queue going. I could be making not just brewing stuff, but I could also be cooking stuff, right? I might be frying some meat, some bacon. I might be frying some bacon, and that takes me 5 minutes, and I'm making kind of a lot of stuff. And you'll be specifically like going to a planet, going to the crafting station and stacking up stuff, so that when you log out of the game, you're happy because you know you've left your character crafting. And when you come back into Star Citizen, all that stuff is going to be ready for you. So you don't have to fart about getting ready for the mission. You're already doing it. And you've already done all the prep for the mission that maybe you want to do. Alright. So I've basically just made it simple by showing you cooking. And I'm going to show you weapons now. Because this is my new beef. Because if the 6th system comes out, whenever that may be, you really want to get excited when you go to that 6th system, because it's got the next tier of weapons. That's the reason you want to go there. And everybody's going to go there to get the next tier. So let's go into ballistics, shall we? Now, you'll notice here that the ballistic skill is generic across all these weapons, right? But if I look at, let's look at pistols, which is small. They've made this a little bit complex if you not come in here. Handguns, all right. Now imagine this is Stanton, so we've got handguns 1. This is the stuff that you find in the shop. But you're going to be crafting this stuff to get what I would call handguns 2. This is going to be the schematic to get other weapons. Now, they are saying you're going to get rare schematics in the world, and I'm okay if there was a green, let's say, recipe for this Magnum here that just had better stats. That'd be okay. In handguns 1, that'd be fine. You could do a rare Magnum GA40, which you could do. It would go in here, and it probably would be 90 ballistic skill. But here's the thing. When you're crafting the GA40 Magnum, you can see it actually takes components that you're making. It needs a steel short heavy barrel. You craft this. The steel automatic action. You craft this. Rubber handgun grip. You craft that. Salvaged fasteners. Now you can see this comes from a merchant, and it makes sure that when you're crafting there is a money sink in the world. So in Star Citizen you should have credits if you're to pay for crafting. You can't just get materials and massively get crafting out. No, there needs to be a tax on you crafting to slow the process down. That's going to be some kind of because, you know, this Magnum's really good, for example, in Stanton, and 5 of these is fairly expensive, and you can only get these from the shop. That's fine. And salvaged gears. This is pretty hard stuff to get, obviously. I mean, this is from the first zone in the game, and this is quite an expensive gun to get. So, okay, I've done all the content in Stanton. I'm going into Pyro, and in Pyro that's where you're going to get your next set of weapons. For example, that could be, you go to Pyro and you're going to get small arms, rifles. Your Magnum now goes to an actual gun, or you go up to, maybe when you go to Nyx, you might get improved rifles, and you can see that this goes around. Also notice there is this experimental ballistics, which is another book group. These experimental ballistics could be specific to Nyx, for example, and they are, you know, what we've seen in Sitcom, the space sci-fi AK-47, the 50 cal shotgun barrel thingy, and the 3 grenade. That looks like experimental weaponry. And I think if I look at some of these rifles, these green ones are kind of special. Just open this out a bit. Yeah, so the green ones are kind of schematics I found in the world, you might say, and the normal white ones, these are stuff that I've learnt by getting good at making rifles, because you come to Nyx and you might be Advanced Rifles 1, and then you get good in this and you bang out the book for the next set, right? So there's like a crafting loop for each system that you go in, but every time you go in, it is like difficult. And you'll notice that these books need pens, they need paper, they also need some steel because you're researching, and they need an alloy assault action, which is a gun component. So if you're making a shotgun, the Hellfire shotgun here, you notice that it has a unique barrel that you'll be making in here, and so there you've got the new barrel for this gun, the alloy action, steel assault grips, and some fasteners from the shop. Now once you've got these components, you can basically put these together wherever you want, because it's fairly cheap to put the gun together as long as you've got the components, but the components themselves take time. That's why you're going to come to a ballistics. Yep, you're going to come to your ballistics, and you're going to be specifically looking for making your stuff. Because if I look at components and I look at, such for example, long barrels, and I'm making a good long heavy one, that's 8 minutes, and you might be banging out some guns because you are specifically trying to get your ballistic skill up. Because you've got to get your skill up by making stuff from gun creation. And I think this is the deepness of Fallen Earth, is that it's really good. But in Star Citizen, you could go into a new system and get new schematics that give you better guns and stuff like that. And of course, when it comes to armor, you've got better armor also, because if I look at combat armor, these are kind of high level armors that you can make in the game. You're more likely just be banging out some kind of, let's look at jackets here. You'd be in Stanton here to get a lightning jacket. This is stuff you'll get in the shops maybe, and then you're going to craft your book and get something better, like a camouflage jacket they've got here. And you'll notice that this jacket also kind of needs leather if you're making that. It needs fasteners from the shop, and it needs some cotton that you've got from somewhere. So even making armor has its own different things. Because if I look at the combat armor, which is fairly high level, these components are going to be hard to craft. And you'll notice crafting legs, for example, is a 24 minutes. So if you're making a full armor set for yourself, it could take 4 hours. And you bet your bottom dollar you'd want to log out and craft that. Because you spend your gaming session getting all the materials together, and then you start crafting it and all that stuff. You can... You could be crafting this out and about when you're going, but it's just going to be so slow to craft it. And this is real-time crafting it takes. Now, with Star Citizen, we know it's going to have armor crafting, it's going to have weaponry crafting. Are you going to be able to make parts of the guns? I hope so, and I hope it's well you're making down. I hope you're making components down. We really hope that we get medicine, like we see here. Medicine has its own thing. You can see trauma medicines from Stanton. It would be here trauma. You can actually make better medicines if you start becoming, making medicine. Your medicine skill will go up, and you'll make better books. And then when you go into Nyx, you might get the improved traumas, and you're making better medicine now because you went to Nyx. But you need to have kind of a high level medicine to do this. This would be nice because it's part of the medical gameplay. You'd be making medicines, you'd have a high level skill, and when you go into the next system, you would be bang up to date with crafting, and it would mean anyone coming new to the game couldn't simply make anything as good for you, and they would have a nice progression with gear going through the different systems to actually level up their crafting and all that stuff. Or they just do missions, repeatable missions for credits, and they come to your shop and buy this stuff from you. Anyway, mutagens, this is something that might come to Star Citizen, where you're injecting stuff to give you a boost of health or a boost of immunity, or I don't know what they might do. Cooking, obviously, I hope this comes into Star Citizen as part of not having to rely on buying hot dogs all the time or going into Whammers. Now, in science, this is pretty interesting because acid can be materials that you're putting into grenades, right? And you've got the different acid groups here that you're going to mix in with some geological compound that you've mined and all this interesting stuff. So acids is kind of grenades. You can make an ATV, and you can make a car in this game. But I'll stick to the ATV as that's basically the simplest one that you've got. So to make the ATV, it's 4 hours and 21. But if you're inside a science workshop on a planetary location in Star Citizen, you can make it much cheaper. But you'll notice it needs an ATV engine, some tyres, an ATV control system, a frame, and some repair kits. You can buy them from vendors. There's always one part of the craft you get from vendors, but the other stuff you've got to make. But for example, if you're making tyres, dude, a tyre set takes 4 hours. And so if you're making components to make vehicles in Star Citizen, then you're definitely going to be coming into a science workshop equivalent, just kind of bang out the materials for the thing that you're making. And let's look at control systems. So again, you can see when you're making vehicles, there's a huge amount of time to bang out. And this is what I hope it is. So you are collecting the materials. You can maybe craft some of these, like scrap gears. You can craft these if you get the metal. You can. I can't remember. I think that's coming from the merchant. Always the scrap fasteners. Steel you find out in the world, and glass you can craft that, I believe, or find it. But essentially, what I want you to do is, you get the recipes from each system, and you there's geology for handcraft, for mining and stuff like that. So basically, you get, as you go through each system, you're getting a next tier of recipes that starts off at tier 1, and within that system, you can go down that crafting route to get 1, 2, and 3 of it. So, and then if you go into the next system, you've got the next tier 2, which would be improved boots. And then when you go into Nyx, you'll get the advanced boots. So there's a clear progression of crafting. This stuff's obviously going to be better for you. And really the content in those zones, in those star systems, should require you to have good stuff. Because imagine going straight into Nyx when you're only wearing stuff from the shops. Well, you're not wearing advanced boots at all. You're at boots 1 at that stage in your gear. And potentially if you've got level 1 Stanton gear going into Nyx, you're going to get eaten alive in FPS. And I think this should happen with the ships also. If you're only in Stanton, why should you be able to upgrade your ship to level 2? Well, maybe you can in Stanton level up your ship to level 2, but the recipe for level 3, that's in Pyro, and then when you want to get it to level 3, that's in Nyx, because you don't want to go into combat missions in Nyx if you've still got your Stanton tier 1 bought from the shop crap. Because really, you need to go into tier 3 for that content. You know, your ship needs to be that much better. And the way they can do that is you can craft the better weapons on the ship. You can go into science and build better shields, better power plants, life support, warp systems, you name it. But you're making that. And when you're making it, you actually have recipes like this where it's complex, takes time, and makes you want to go on a planet to save time crafting by going in these stations. Because I know this is an MMO, but it's fairly quiet MMO. But you might see many people in the area all doing the crafting stuff, and it would be fantastic. Because the depth of it, like I say, everything my character is wearing is made. I made it, basically. I think the cigar that she's got in her head, those lights, I think they're shot bought back in the day. But no, the hat, absolutely. And I think when you come to crafting, it should always automatically connect to the vault. If you've got crafting gear in the vault, it should automatically craft. I don't want to be grabbing everything, putting it into my local inventory, and then having to come here. That's something World of Warcraft did recently. They let you just, as long as it's in your bank, you can craft it if you're at the crafting station. So I think that's going to be fantastic. So, rounding up then, the crafting stuff in the crafting station in your hangar makes me vomit. You're making the game inside of an instance. And I like instant content, don't get me wrong, but when you put crafting in an instant, in a hangar, you lose community. And I could be coming in here into cooking, and there's lots of people in here crafting, and I can ask anybody, have they got a recipe that they can cook for me? I'll give them some money, because a bit of food's not something you might want to put on the auction house. And it's a nice feeling to have players around you crafting when you're crafting stuff, because you know it's taking you time to craft, so you can start talking in this local area about stuff, and it creates a little bit of a crafting community, like what you making, what's your level up to, blah, blah, blah. It's nice to see. I also really think that you need to have tier systems in the game. If you look at my character here, for example, it's very high level. Lots of gear slots. This gun that's active, you can see it's rifle 164 needed to actually use this. It says my level has to be level 45 before I can even use it. In this game, the higher your rifle level, the more damage you actually do. But, you know, for example, this has a better reload, it has more DPS. It has, for example, holds more ammo than the ones from the other area. And interestingly, it's using light rifle ammo. Maybe ammo type can change as well. But I do want to mention that if you went into, let's say that you went into Tara then, what would I want from Tara's crafting? Well, let's just go back to that's melee weapons. Make a shotgun. Right, so when I was in Castra, the best shotgun I could have made was this experimental Hellfire shotgun. It's this thing. Oi. Now, if I go to Terra, there might be activities there then where I can unlock a better version of that gun. It's the same gun, but it's maybe the green gun of it, or the blue gun, meaning it's less common, it's rarer, or maybe it's an epic schematic. And when I'm in Terra then, I might be able to do missions that are military missions to unlock a legendary Hellfire shotgun. So if I've got the legendary shotgun, I've got the best shotgun in the game, and that, you know, you're playing Star Citizen 1.0, but when the 6th system comes out, whatever that is, you're going to have an even better shotgun, so your legendary now is going to get replaced. And then you've got that gameplay loop when the next system comes in, that you're going to have new recipes for everything you're making, whether it's your weapons, your armor, food, medicine, maybe even science that we're seeing here, mutations, spaceships, the spaceship parts. All those new recipes are going to update when that new system comes out. That's what's going to be exciting for all the crafters and for everybody in this world that you make everything. It's going to be epic. Because at the minute, if you've not got tiered systems, if you've not got levels in all of the stuff you're crafting, what's going to be so exciting about a 6th system to Star Citizen when there's no clear progression in gear? Because this flatness to the gear that they have between all the systems, which is what it looks like, which for me is basically stuff bought from shops, that needs to get completely eclipsed by Star Citizen. And you can see this game, back when it came out, is an FPS. All right. Do I need to go closer for you? It's an FPS. Everyone thinks FPS MMOs died. This one survived for many years, and then it kind of servers went down. So let's just summarize, shall we? At the end, you should have crafting areas on planetary locations and have people coming to these, logging out and crafting at these places, because it just speeds stuff up. Secondly, tiers need to happen 100%. And number 3, no milkshake machine where you just put ingredients in. You should have to make the components for this stuff, and then you put the components together. Also, there's one thing that I didn't really mention. Let me just go and have a look, shall we? We'll look at melee weapons, because we... axes. Okay. Now, when you come into these places in this game, there are going to be certain missions that you get, and these missions are crafting missions. So imagine, I don't know, let's find an NPC. This guy, is that a player having a P? He's crafting in the corner, it looks like. Anyway, imagine you get a crafting mission off him, and he wants a hatchet. Oh, you want a hatchet? Well, I'm making pistols. I don't make axes. But you know what? Maybe, because I'm a craftaholic, I'm going to start making hatchets. So I make a hatchet and I give it to him, and he's going to give me some good credits for that. Or in this game, chips. He'll give me some good chips. And this is what I mean. There should be simple crafting quests where they're asking for stuff. Because they can't buy stuff in the shop, maybe. You're on Pyro, they don't have access to these weapons. And it makes sense that they're going to be asking if you can make this stuff. Maybe it's a shop that's requesting 5 hatchets. So be it. Maybe they're needing some medicine. Maybe they're needing some food, etc. So yeah, this tiered crafting also means that you can have crafting missions where they're specifically asking for you to make stuff for them. That'll be fantastic. And this is kind of what I want Star Citizen to be. This kind of progression in the gear that you have would be great, because when you start this game, you'll be floored that everything is made by players. You've got to go around, mine and scavenge everything. And You're going to have to make everything that you were. All the weapons you're using, you have crafted them. And it takes time to do it. To make a vehicle takes a lot of time. I know in Star Citizen they want you to buy vehicles from either the shop or earn them in-game. I'm okay with that. But if you're going to upgrade it to the next tier, I really hope that you're making the components of the ships and plugging them in and upgrading the weapons to a tier 2 Stanton grade, which is better than the shops. You go to Pyro, it's tier 2, or it's the next tier on, and there's a progression through the systems. That's why you're going to each of the systems. And then when all the content's done, you then go back to your space station that you've probably built by that stage post 1.0. This is kind of the stuff that my character had here. Maximum health by 30, increases my experience of the party I'm in. Meditation. Primary abilities up. Team stamina, gamma regeneration. This is basically a hybrid build where I do have guns, but on my bar I should have a lot of mutative powers in this game because I'm that kind of person. Anyway, that's what she looks like. You can see my other character here. Crafted that nice sword. I crafted those sunglasses. And it's so satisfying. That amazing weapon that I crafted. I found the schematic. A rare schematic in the world and I crafted it, baby. Hell yeah. I want to be finding schematics in the world, yeah, but they should just be green or blue recipes that conform to the recipes I'm making, whether that is Pistols 1 or Pistols 2 or Pistols 3 from Stanton, or improved pistols in Pyro, or even Nyx where they've got improved pistols. Yes, and if I go to Tara, I can make this, my favorite gun, a epic or potentially legendary. But when the 6th system comes, I will be going, because I'll have better armor, better weapons, better ship, and above all, better cigars. Well, I've been Lipstickpaddy, the host of PCGamer Radio 102.4. This is my take on crafting in Star Citizen and how it can learn from the best MMO in the world with the best crafting. It's Fallen Earth Classic, it's now called, on Steam. Play for free. If you like post-apocalyptic open world with theme park missions and the crafting world, it's a little old, but it's still glorious. I've 600 hours in this game, peeps, on Classic, and I played the old game too. It is so good. But please, Star Citizen, the crafting team, watch this video, play this game, and experience the joy of crafting in the best crafted ever MMO made, baby. I've been Lipstickpaddy, this is PCGamer Radio. You take care, stay safe, and bye for now. Well, thanks for watching. And if you remember, you can please subscribe and like the video. And don't remember, you can also hit the bell for notices on the channel. Yeah, we've also got a Twitter you can see on our banner, so check that out too. So take care and bye-bye.